trialed and tested in our gardens before they go to yours. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and it's important for us that when we are offering new plants to the market, that we have the opportunity to trial and test them before we introduce them to you. We want to make for sure that number one, we can grow them in the greenhouses here and be successful with that portion of growing. We also want to make sure that they do really well out in our trial gardens as well here at Garden Crossings. Last summer, we planted up a brand new garden designated to the Bloomables line of perennials, which comes from Darwin Perennials, and we were absolutely blown away by how fantastic those plants did all summer. That perennial garden was always in color, and what we love the most is so many of those new plant varieties, they just bloomed and bloomed and bloomed throughout the summer with very little effort. So today we have, I think, about 12 or so new varieties that they sent us to do trials on this summer. So some of these, I'm sure, we will be offering in our Bloomables line for 2026. So let's go ahead without further ado and take a look at what some of these new varieties are that we will be trialing and testing. So first off, they sent us 3 new Brunera. So these are going to be plants that are good for those of you that have the shade gardens. All right, first one we're going to be featuring here, it's called Brunera Frostline. And you're not going to really be able to get a good indicating factor of what they're going to look like just based off of these plug trays. So we'll pop pictures up on the screen so you can see what they look like as a mature plant in the test gardens at Ball. So Brunera Frostline, it has a unique leaf pattern for more garden appeal. The leaves feature a unique chartreuse halo not often found in Brunera. They display strong, eye-catching leaf veining, and I think that's one thing with the Brunera is when they have great foliage, they also have that great veining pattern that goes on. They're a nice size not only for in your landscape, but also for in container combinations as well. In the spring, the iconic bright blue flowers do appear. They're just little periwinkle blooms, and they're just so pretty. I think that they kind of say, oh, spring is here when you start seeing the Brunera blooming. These are hardy in zones 4 to 9, and they're, of course, deer and rabbit resistant with that fuzzy, pokey kind of foliage. And they get about 10 to 12 inches tall and about 18 inches wide. So not a super huge variety of Brunera. The next one is Brunera Permafrost. And this, again, when you're looking at these baby plants, they're not really, they're not in their time to shine phase, but we'll show it to you right there. So this is the Permafrost, and Permafrost is known at maturity for its large leaves. So large leaves with very strong veining, perfect for shady areas in your garden. You can brighten up those places with those, again, bright pink spring blooms, beautiful spring periwinkle blooms. And they produce less summer browning than what a lot of Brunera do. So I know when it gets really hot in the gardens, you start kind of seeing maybe your Brunera get a little bit of that browning on the leaf edges. Sometimes it's due to too much sun or not enough water. This particular variety, you're going to see less of that going on. Also hardy in zones 4 to 9. It gets 12 to 15 inches tall and about 18 to 21 inches wide. So just a little bit bigger than the Frostline. And then the third new Brunera introduction is called Frost Magic. So this one we can tell on the leaves that is a little bit different of a leaf pattern going on. That is the Brunera Frost Magic. And one thing I noticed with this particular one is the silver overlay is a lot more predominant than what it was on the first two. Frost Magic is hardy in zones 4 to 9, 12 to 15 inches tall, and about 18 to 21 inches wide. So pretty typical for Brunera. The next plant on the list is actually a Gaillardia. So Gaillardia are great plants for full sun gardens. Right now we carry the Spin Top series, 2 new varieties, a pink one, excuse me, not pink, a red, and then also a red and yellow colored variation. And the new one is called Gaillardia, I'm probably saying it wrong, but Guapa Red. So again, these are just little plugs. I think it's fun to know, like, what do the plants start off with when we get them in here in the greenhouses. Just nice little plants. So what do I like about the Guapa Red from what I've seen in pictures so far is it's a very bronzy red color flower, and then that cone in the center has kind of a deep rusty red and golden yellow coloration. Guapa Red is heat tolerant, as most Gaillardia are, hardy in zones 5 to 9, and it gets 15 to 17 inches tall and 15 to 17 inches wide. Deer resistant, long blooming, and just an excellent choice if you're looking to add summer long color in the garden. Gaillardia are a great long blooming perennial to add. And again, they come in a various array of colors, but Guapa Red is the new one coming in 2026. Now the next plant we're going to have, there's actually 3 different series, and they are the Penstemon. And what we're going to find with these 3 different series is, if you're looking for like a small, medium, and large option, we've got 3 different size options available. So the first small, we're going to start with the small ones first, and that's part of the Rock Candy series. So we currently do carry the Rock Candy Penstemon. So there's actually 2 new colors that are being introduced. So there is Rock Candy Pink, which is an improved version of the pink that's out there right now. And then also there's Rock Candy Coral. So what does it mean when they improve a plant? It can mean a lot of different things. But in the case here of this Penstemon, the Rock Candy light pink, it's that it's got better basal branching. So basically more branching tells me more flowers. And that's another thing to point out is, here at Garden Crossings, we do a lot of trimming on our plants, and that is to create branching, because when we're trimming, it's creating every 1 branch, cut it, it will produce realistically about 2, and so therefore you're going to have more flowers on your plants. So if you do receive plants from us through the mail order and they have been trimmed, it was done with very good intentions, because we want you to have a nice, well-branched plant when it arrives to your door. All right, so back though to the Rock Candy Penstemon. So this is the plugs when they come in, just kind of a nice, compact little plant, but these little guys grow into something big within no time. So the Rock Candy series is compact, like I mentioned. It only is 12 inches tall and 12 inches wide. So just kind of a cute little front of the border type of perennial. They're long blooming. They have beautiful bell-shaped blooms, and that's something that is really great, especially if you're looking to attract the butterflies and the hummingbirds to the garden, because anything with those bell-shaped flowers is usually a pretty good indicator that you're going to be having the butterflies and hummingbirds visiting. They also have very bright, intense blooms, so colors that are just really going to pop and stand out in the garden. Great for borders and containers because of that small size. Hardy in zones 5 to 8. They have a nice upright mounding habit and are heat tolerant and like to be planted in full sun locations. So we had some of the Rock Candy series in our garden from last summer, and they did fantastic. As I mentioned, we love the Bloomables garden because there was so much color going on with so many perennials that just continued to cycle and bloom and bloom and bloom. And this Rock Candy series, we had other colors last year, but they continued to flower all summer long. So we were really impressed with what we have seen so far in the garden last year, and now we're excited to add the new improved version of pink and then another color, coral, which is going to just extend that color family of the Rock Candy Penstemon collection. The next series of Penstemon is a little bit taller, and it's part of the Mountain Treats series. So you're noticing a lot of these plants have like series names. So the Mountain Treats is a series, and there's a lot of different colors that fall within that series. So here we have Mountain Treats Lavender. It also comes in rose and in light pink. So 3 different color variations that they have in this collection. Mountain Treats are known to rebloom throughout the season, and again are noted for their very intense, bright coloration. Big flowers that have high impact not only in the garden, but also for us that have garden centers. They display really well on the benches as well. So when customers walk into the store, they see, wow, that is a really nice looking plant. So as a grower, that's important to not only be a great plant for the landscape, but also to be something that's easy to work with when we're looking to sell it in the garden center or online. So it's got a medium habit. It's got great basal branching, which again, basal branching, more branches, more flowers. And it's a real true hummingbird magnet. Now this one is hardy in zone 6 to 9. So for those of you watching who maybe are Michigan or some of the little bit cooler areas, you will want to kind of watch and know what your zone is if you are looking to add this mountain treat series to your landscape. These get 20 to 24 inches tall, so as you can see, slightly taller, and about 18 to 24 inches wide. Great, again, for full sun and areas that maybe don't get quite as much water. So they are also a little bit drought tolerant of a plant as well. And then the third in the series is called the Summit Suites collection. So the Summit Suites is the largest of the 3 Penstemon introductions that we were given today. And let's find Summit Suites here. So if we were walking out in the greenhouse and just trying to figure out these plants based off foliage, that would be really hard to do because they look all very similar in these trays. So once they start flowering is when you get a better indicator of which plant may be which. So the summer suites, we have ruby and purple. Ruby is a beautiful pinkish red, and obviously a purple is purple. So these are very tall in the landscape, and man, they are just gorgeous. High impact color. You'll notice one theme here with the Bloomables line of Penstemon is color is important. They want it to be deep, rich, and bright. They want it to really be able to stand out in the garden. And it's the size of it, it makes a fantastic thriller. So you can use it not only in your garden, which you'd want to probably use it like mid or back of the garden, but it also, because of its habit, it makes a fantastic thriller in container combinations. And because Penstemon are a fairly long blooming perennial, it is a perennial that will continue to give you color as the season goes on. So using it as a thriller with annuals, or even if you have a collection or a container of perennials you're putting together, this is going to be one of those plants that will just keep flowering as the season goes on. It attracts the bumblebees, the butterflies, and the hummingbirds, as did the others we talked about earlier. And it gets 30 to 34 inches tall and 24 to 30 inches wide. So definitely when you are planting the Penstemon in your garden, make sure you know which series that you are dealing with as to where it's best suited to go in your garden. So if you've got the small little rock candy collection, the 12-inch ones, great for front of the borders. You can stack it up a little bit with the mountain series, the mountain treat series. That'd be more of that mid border. And then if you're looking to go with the Summit series, the Summit Suites, those are the guys you're going to want to put in the back. So I think it's great that we will be able to trial these in the Bloomables garden this summer and just see how they do. I think it'd be a great idea, and I'm going to actually talk to the growers that are going to be planting this, that when they're planting these in the garden, that we plant them side by side. So that way, as the summer goes along, we can kind of watch and see how they step up in size and compare to one another. There's nothing better than a side-by-side comparison, especially when you are doing the trials. The Brunera, we might have to find a different home for those because our bloomable garden right now is entirely in the full sun. So we're going to have to find a little spot where we can tuck these in under a shade tree or something. So we don't have a lot of shade in many of our gardens, which I know it's terrible for those of you that are shade gardeners. On the property here, most of the gardens are full sun. But we will find a few little trees that we do have in the gardens that we can plant some of these Brunera in and just see how they do too throughout the summer. Again, another great idea would be to plant them side by side so that when we're talking about them, we can compare one next to the other so you can see how they're doing. And then of course that Gaillardia, that's going to go great in our bloomable garden in the full sun because it loves the hot sun. It likes, dry areas. So maybe even if we have an area that tends to be a little bit drier than others, that Gaillardia is going to be just as happy as ever in the garden. So we will be doing follow-up videos throughout the summer. Obviously right now this is just when they came in, but I'm going to probably do several videos throughout the summer, just kind of giving you updates on how these are doing out in the garden for you too to take notes on them if it's something that you may be interested in planting in your garden in 2026. So again, I'm going to reiterate, these varieties are currently not available here in 2025. This is something that may be available on our website in 2026. So if you're new to Garden Crossings, head over to our website where we have an array of plants for you to choose from. Pick your favorites and we'll ship them directly to your door. Or if you're located here in Zeeland, Michigan, you can stop on into our retail garden center and see all of these beautiful plants for yourself. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.